Alright boys, today we're going to be taking a look at this absolute monstrosity. This is the TURM-III, a prototype vehicle developed by the Germans. I believe it had 3-axis stabilisation, but in game it just has the same 2-plane stabiliser. I don't think it's possible for them to model a 3-axis stabiliser in War Thunder at the minute, but as you'll see in this video, the tank is already strong enough. Anyway, let's crack straight into it. The TURM-III is a rank 5 battle rating 8.0 medium tank located in the German tech tree. This is of course a premium vehicle and must be purchased on the Gaijin store for the cost of €50 or dollars. Although you do get 2,000 golden eagles as well as 15 days of premium time with the tank. Due to its premium status, it only has a crew train cost of 10,000 silver lions. But for its expert and ace qualifications, it's 810,000 silver lions and 2,000 golden eagles respectively. In terms of customization, you have a few camouflages available for golden eagles, but none currently on the Gaijin marketplace. So, mobility and survivability. Well, to start, this vehicle is pretty much based on the Leopard tank chassis, although it is much taller. Anyway, the tank is powered by an engine producing 856 horsepower, combined with the vehicle's weight of 42.5 tons. It gives the tank a pretty good power to weight ratio of 20.1 horsepower per ton. This is quite good for battle rating 8.0, and you can easily get yourself around on the battlefield. The top speed of 66 km per hour is also fairly good, but on soft terrain like mud and sand, I found its top speed is more around 50, but that's still good enough for most battles. The tank also has a very respectable reverse speed of 26 km per hour. Alright, survivability. And if we look at this picture of the cutaway of the vehicle, you can see there's one major weak spot of the tank. Basically, the entire left hand side. Because this tank uses a special sort of autoloader, all of its ammunition is stored pretty much right out in the open on the left hand side of the vehicle. This is an absolutely huge weak spot, as you can imagine. All that ammunition is very flammable, and as we'll see shortly, you don't really have the armor protection either to protect you. There's one other thing. If we look at the crew, there's only 3 of them, and the gunner and commander are located directly behind each other, meaning if both of them are killed, the vehicle will be destroyed. So pretty much no matter where you shoot in the turret, you're going to one-shot kill this thing. If you shoot in the left, you're going to destroy the ammunition. If you shoot at the right, you're going to kill the gunner and the commander. But on to the armor survivability itself, and if we look at the upper frontal plate against this tank's own gun and APDS round, you can see that we only have around 67mm of protection. While this tank does have well sloped armor, it's just not thick enough to begin with, just like the original Leopard 1 tank. If we next move up to the trim of the turret, the flattest part of the turret armor, that's a measly 21mm thick. I've been killed multiple times by BMP2s. The 30mm autocannon can go straight through pretty much any part of this tank, with the exception of the upper frontal plate. And then the thickest part of the tank's turret armor is only 40mm. There's no straying away from this tank's armor is pretty awful, and its survivability in general is very subpar for battle rating 8.0. Any penetrating hit, no matter how small, is likely to kill the vehicle. Unfortunately, the tank is very tall compared to a lot of vehicles, and there is a reason that most armies design vehicles to have a pretty low silhouette, so try to remain unseen, or at least fire first. While this tank does look big and scary, it certainly can't really be played as a brawler. As I've said, any penetrating round is likely to kill you, so even in a down tier, you are still incredibly vulnerable. Alright, so the mobility is okay, the survivability is god awful. What about the firepower? Well, this tank is armed by a British gun, so you know it's going to be amazing. This is the 105mm L7A3, basically the German version of the Royal Ordnance L7. You can carry 47 rounds in total, with all of those rounds being classed inside the autoloader. This means all 47 rounds are reloaded at the same rate, and the autoloader system on this tank is also pretty good, reloading a shell every 5 seconds. At battle rating 8.0, that does give you a quite big advantage, where most 105mm guns at that battle rating are reloading in every 8.7 to 6.7 seconds. This gives you a pretty big advantage over most NATO vehicles, and a huge advantage over the Soviet bloc vehicles. We then come on to the vertical guidance. You have 12 degrees of gun elevation and 12 degrees of gun depression. Now this, more than anything, is really this tank's biggest strength. While the turret of this tank doesn't have the best armor, you can simply pop up behind cover, take a shot with that great gun depression, and then pop back into cover. This has been my go-to playstyle in this vehicle. Instead of Rambo rushing towards the cap circles in this thing, I tend to go to the outsides of the maps, use the terrain, and play the tank as more as an ambush vehicle, a role which this vehicle excels very well at. As I said at the beginning of the video, the tank does have a 2-point gun stabilizer, which does make firing on the move a lot easier. Although this tank is battle rating 8.0, it does not feature a laser rangefinder, which is a little bit of a letdown, but it only really affects this tank if you're trying to shoot at very long range. The tank also has one other feature, a huge 30mm cannon. This is the HSS-83-1L. This has a single box of ammunition containing 300 rounds. It's mounted coaxially to the main gun, but is offset slightly in the aim cam, meaning if you want to target an object with the 30mm gun at close range using the main aiming camera, you'll have to aim slightly to the bottom and to the left in order to hit with your 30mm gun. Your 30mm gun has one type of ammunition belt, and that is a split between semi-armor piercing incendiary, as well as high explosive incendiary tracer. At close range, this gun gives you 53mm of penetration, which isn't amazing to be honest, but you can use it to track people, destroy barrels, blind them, piss them off, the basic sort of stuff. It is effective at confusing and saturating an enemy player, but it isn't actually that useful for killing them, unless you're going up against a very lightly armoured opponent. But what about the main ammunition for your main gun? Well, we have three choices. First, we have the Dm13 Round. This is an APDS round, giving it very high muzzle velocity of 1478 meters per second. At a range of 500 meters, it can penetrate 296mm of armor. This round is arguably your go-to round in my opinion. It's the round that I use the most, but while it does have high penetration, it's got rather questionable post-penetration damage. We then have the DM502. This is a HESH round. It travels a lot slower at 732 meters per second, but it can penetrate 127mm of armor at all ranges and angles. It's quite good against lightly armored opponents, but it's made rather redundant by our next round, the DM12 HEATFS, or High Explosive Anti-Tank Fin Stabilized. This is of course a chemical round, meaning it doesn't matter at the velocity or the range of the target. At all ranges, it will penetrate 400mm of flat armor. This is probably your second round that you would carry. I tend to carry either the APDS or the HEATFS. I think it's easier taking the APDS, it's a lot faster, it's got similar levels of penetration, and it just tends to perform a lot better against the sloped armor at battle rating 8.0 and above. So, is this tank worth the money? Well, it is by far the best rank 5 premium in the German tech tree at the minute, and probably one of the most effective grinders in the game. The combination of the good mobility and very good performing gun, it just makes the tank very easy to play to be honest. It's quite strange, it's nothing. On paper the tank isn't that good, but in game it just performs incredibly well. It's quite tall so you can look over quite a lot of objects, and with the good gun depression you can use the height of the vehicle to actually look over and then shoot over most things, which you can't really do in other tanks. It's especially good for shooting over rocks as well. To get to the point though, I'd say that this tank is definitely worth it, especially if you are going to grind out the German tech tree. It is only a rank 5 premium, so you won't be able to grind out the Leopard 2A6 and that sort of stuff, but I'd say it's a lot better at grinding than the TAM 2 IP or the Leopard L44. So it's up to you really. You could pay £10 more or €10 more and get the L44 Leopard, but I don't think it's as good at grinding as this thing. But I can't tell you how to use your money, you'll have to decide for yourselves. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. And if you really liked it, consider becoming a channel member, like Tomato Salad, Deboa LX, Just Someone, Destroyer 1805, Dr. Bob, Tans, William Tessier, and Lola Alfonsi. Thank you very much lads, and I'll see you in the next review.